Welcome to Slice Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. For your next pizza night or dinner date, come give us a try and experience the Slice difference.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3YT, tonight's broadcast of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, Patriot Media and Marketing 150 here on 3YTV. I'm Peter Short, joining me in the booth here tonight is Greg Rentz. And Greg, we got 150 laps around the Iowa Speedway, multi-groove racetrack, variably banked in the corners, and of course a very unique length at 7/8 of a mile. This racetrack akin to many other short tracks, but some people say it kind of races like a speedway with the fact that it is multi-groove. What are you expecting to see around this track here tonight?
Expecting to see a wild one, Peter. 150 laps here at Iowa tonight, and this is a track that has been longing for a Cup Series date in real-life NASCAR, and these guys of the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series are going to put on a show for 150 laps. But as you see right there, with the number 1 of Jason Stewart, Peter, we've got a little bit of something else special going on tonight. First Responders Night here in the ASRS Series, and several drivers have gone with specialty paint schemes honoring our first responders here tonight.
Yeah, it is very cool to see a couple of drivers here participating in that. And of course, during this broadcast, we will announce what driver that we up in the 3YTV booth have picked as the best looking first responder paint scheme. And I'll tell you what, there is money on the line for that. Patriot Media Marketing Services, as well as a little bit of help from their friends over at War Turtle Racing, have actually put together a prize fund for tonight's race. $10 for the best looking first responder paint, which we've already mentioned. $10 for the hard charger of the race. $5 for the halfway leader at the completion of lap number 75. And $20 for the winner. And that $20 prize is made up a little bit from Patriot Media and Marketing Services and War Turtle Racing. So great to see those folks on board for tonight's race, pitching in to make a little bit of a prize pool. And I'm sure a lot of these drivers have had that on their mind this week with just a little bit extra on their minds. But why don't we recap a little bit about last week, because I'll tell you what, we did just have one race last week. We had 2 races last week. So there you can see those race results. And Greg, we thought it was going to be the Greg Evans and Greg Evans show in both of those races, but Greg Evans took the win in race number 2, run into some bad luck in race number 2, and I'll tell you what, we came away with a new winner in race number 2. Christopher Bouchard in the number 50 got his first win of the season, and you can see those results right there. And Greg, it really was a flip from the first race a lot of those drivers from the first race in the top 5 actually struggled in the second race, getting caught up in quite a few accidents that we had. But all in all, 2 fantastic races last week.
Yeah, if you look, you see only 2 drivers from the top 5 of the first race finishing in the top 5 of the second one, with Christopher Bouchard, race 2 winner. He finished 5th in race 1. And how about Doug Mullins, the weekend he had last week at Pocono, 2nd and 4th. Great effort for him. And look at Michael Krobach. He was up there as well, 6th in the first race, 2nd in the second race. So a lot of good breakout performances there at Pocono last week. Back to the single race format here tonight. But I got to say, I enjoyed that 2-race format because it was 2 points-paying races for the series. And there you see the impact that had on it. John Jenkins still in the points lead with 2 wins on the year. Tyler Seville, a win at Michigan earlier this season. But man, oh man, how about Greg Evans, Peter? That was win number 8 on the season for him this season.
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks back at New Hampshire when we had the Young Gun Creations 150, we were talking about the fact that Greg Evans tacked on the PAT. Well, last week he got the 2-point conversion, getting his 8th win of the season. Very, very impressive for that number 2 machine, trying to get win number 9 on the season here again tonight. But look at that red line down at the bottom. Christopher Bouchard with that win at Pocono in race number 2 of the Dirty Bird Twins. He actually got himself up into the top 12 in points, which is that cutoff line for the playoffs. Of course, picking up his first win of the season, like I mentioned, and Woody Mahan just outside of that battle. It is a very strong battle around that 12th position. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the season progresses. But we are now over in the qualifying session, Greg. And one thing that we heard about this race here tonight is that the tire fall off is quite drastic. About a second fall off in about 15 laps, and then it at some point starts to kind of even off after about 20 laps on your tires. But that high tire fall off has actually led to the series giving these drivers an extra set of tires here tonight. So they have 1 set of tires that, of course, they start on, and then they have 2 fresh sets of tires on pit road. So 3 sets in totals for these drivers here tonight. And we see those qualifying times start to trickle in. And Greg, we mentioned that the in between us before the start of the show here tonight, that the Will Worcester racing machines were very, very quick. And once again, we see them 1, 2, 3 here early in qualifying.
Yeah, Will Worsler, Tyler Seville, and Doug Mullins, 1, 2, 3 on the charts, and I believe that was the exact order that it was in practice. But say hello to number 2, Greg Evans. But he's only going to go 3rd on this one, Peter, because he looped it coming off turn number 2 on his first lap. So lap number 2 will be the only lap that counts for Greg Evans. So he will have to settle for 3rd at the time being. Still a couple cars coming around for qualifying, including your points leader who's on screen right now, the 7 of John Jenkins, coming to complete his first lap, and he did not get a time, so he may have caught the wall on lap number 1. So your points leader, John Jenkins, on screen right now, trying to track down Will Worsler's 23.621. He was fastest in practice, fastest again here in qualifying thus far. Here we see, I believe, Alan Young in the 24. He's another guy, Peter, who we've talked about for a few weeks, has been overdue for a win in the series. Could it come tonight at Iowa?
Yeah, possibly so. I mean, we saw him so good at New Hampshire a couple of weeks back in the Young Gun Creations 150, and then of course last week in the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Twins at Pocono, he was very, very quick in that number 24 machine. So we'll see where he qualifies in that number 24. Currently being scored 12th out of the cars who have taken time, and so far it has been 25 drivers elect to take time here tonight. We have a couple of drivers yet to take time back at the back of the pack, but there is the number 1 machine sporting that first responders paint scheme, driving off into turn number 1. And Greg, a lot of people talk about Iowa and saying this is actually a pretty tricky racetrack to get around. There's a lot of bumps on this racetrack that these drivers have to contend with here tonight, and really how your car gets over those bumps is the key to getting around this racetrack. There's a lot of bumps right down there at the bottom of turn number 1, but the bumps up in the 3rd and 4th grooves here are absolutely treacherous. And I'm sure we'll see a couple of drivers fall foul of those bumps here tonight. And hopefully they don't end up in the outside retaining wall, because it's pretty easy to do, especially coming out of turn number 2. The track just flattens out very, very quickly. You lose feeling in the front end of the race car. You can kind of see it from this view right there, how flat the backstretch is versus the banking coming out of turn number 2. And if you just get the wrong angle, you get the power down at the wrong time, you can definitely wash up into the outside wall. Same thing actually coming out of turn number 4 as well. The way the track just opens up has a tendency to catch out drivers, and here we see those bumps, and that's Haggerty trying to ride those bumps, and he looks like he's going around. So folks, that is exactly what I was just talking about. That number 6 Cheer 1 machine gonna have to gather it back up and see if he can make it a little bit better through turns number 1 and 2 on lap number 2.
Yeah, nice save for Haggerty in the number 6, but he's going to park it there and just go ahead and reset for a second attempt here at Iowa. He comes out now. He's going to just get one lap. Much like Greg Evans, it was the same exact spot that Evans had his issue earlier. And Peter, going back to your point about the bumps up in the third group, that's very tricky here because the third group is the preferred line around here. A lot of guys will run where we're seeing Haggerty at right now, up near the wall, through the corners. So the preferred groove is the most treacherous one. So this will definitely be a case of who is willing to push the envelope at what time here. 150 laps is a long race. Me and you have done a 150 lap race here in the past on 3Y TV. It was super late models though. Cup cars, an entirely different story.
Yeah, you see Haggerty running right up there against the wall here coming out of turn number 3 and 4. We'll have to see what kind of lap he turns in. It will be 20th out of the 28 cars to take time. So maybe pencil the number 6 machine in for the Hard Charger award. He's going to be starting well back in the field here tonight in that Cheerwine Toyota. But we only have about 4 minutes left here in qualifying, and the track has gone quiet. Now, the big talking point this weekend here in the American Sim Racing Series has been the fact that we have had a couple of yellows at the end of these races over the last few weeks, and these drivers kind of noting that. I mean, Greg, you and I have seen in the past few races these late race cautions kind of rearing their head, and these drivers all of a sudden having to make some late race strategy calls, and really it's turned these races on the head each and every week that we've seen over about the past month and a half or so. Do you expect to see something similar here tonight?
It's short track. You have to expect it, Peter. It is technically a short track, 7/8 of a mile, and these drivers love Iowa, but man, oh man, the way these races have been going the last few weeks, and like you said, going back about a month and a half now, it's been something that we've just come to expect. Late cautions breeding cautions. Remember, the bounty is up to $120 now for that no caution bounty. We thought we had a shot. We had 2 chances at Pocono, only 30 laps and 35 laps respectively. We thought we had a shot at maybe seeing that bounty happen last week, and we made it about 300 feet to the first turn before we had our first caution of the night. So could it happen tonight at Iowa? We'll see, but boy, the recent trends saying no, sir, I don't think it's coming tonight. So we'll see what happens here in 150 laps.
Absolutely. Want to give a shout out to some of the people that we have in the chat here awaiting the start of tonight's Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150 here at the Iowa Speedway. We've got Aunt Kathy in the chat. Nicholas Rees say, I'm going to be back in the booth one of these weeks. Hopefully you can get up here soon, Nicholas. And I've got Nikki Worsler rooting on Will Worsler Racing, as well as Checkered Flag PCs and DMLC Racing Channel. How's it going, Mark? Hope all is well with you. Tyler Seville saying we need to turn Will Worsler Racing's qualifying into results. And we mentioned it, Greg. They have been very, very fast once again here in qualifying, but really recently we've seen some good runs out of them, but it's been a while since we last saw them in victory lane. We do have Seth Olson in the chat as well, Timothy Austin rooting on Will Worsler Racing. So I hope you guys can settle down and enjoy tonight's broadcast of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here for the American Sim Racing Series. And if you're in the chat, make sure you make yourself heard, because this is going to be a good race, 150 laps around the 7/8 of a mile racetrack. And you can kind of see there just a little bit, Greg, in turn number 3 and 4, the fact that this racetrack is variably banked. So down on the bottom of the racetrack, it's not as banked as it is in the middle groove, and the middle groove isn't as banked as it is up on the high groove. So different levels of banking in the corner, and that can really affect the way the car drives. Up near the wall, you think you have the most grip because of the fact that you have more banking, but that isn't always the case with all the bumps here. And in the middle groove, that seems to be where I've seen a lot of drivers gravitate towards, because there aren't very many bumps in that middle groove. There's a lot of grip, and if you can kind of get your car settled in between the lap joint of the two different bankings, well, you can kind of get that car settled in a way that you like. And I've seen a couple of drivers kind of straddle that first white dashed line down there, trying to get some extra grip on their race car to get their suspension just kind of settled in a way that they can launch up off the corner. So we'll have to keep an eye on that here tonight. And then right down there on the yellow line, we'll see some drivers try that line as well. You can run 2 or 3 wide around this racetrack, Greg, so hopefully we get to see some of that in action here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be wild. This is a short track that drives like a super speedway, Peter. 3 wide is very common here. Multi-groove racing, so much fun here at Iowa. But going back to something that Tyler Seville was talking about there with Will Worsler Racing, looking to turn their qualifying efforts into results. And you mentioned it, the last time a Will Worsler Racing driver was in victory lane, it was Tyler Seville at Michigan, but they have been so strong every week. And I got to say, another guy who's been impressing me, he's not an official Will Worsler Racing driver, but he is a satellite driver. That 14 of AJ Digby, another great qualifying effort. We'll talk more about him as we get going. But Peter, it's time to go through the starting lineup.
And starting on the pole is one of those Will Worsler Racing machines. That is the number 29 machine of Will Worsler himself. Starting on the pole here tonight at Iowa, and to his outside, the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Got a different paint scheme on that machine. Got hashtag reform on that number 11 machine. Then we have Greg Evans in the number 2 machine, one of those drivers as well, running the first responder scheme on the inside of row number 2, and to his outside, the number 14 of AJ Digby, very, very fast here in qualifying once again. Row number 3, we got the number 69 of Adam Jersky, Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes on the Hood. Of course, the running meme here on 3Y TV on Tuesday nights is, what cheesecake is he making tonight? That's the question for the chat. Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine, winner from a couple weeks back at Kansas, I do believe. He will be starting on the outside of that row. Was that Kentucky or was that Kansas, Greg? I can't remember. Those 2K tracks there in the heartland of the United States. Doug Mullins on the inside of row number 4 with John Jenkins to his outside. Tim Knott and Grant Brown will roll off on row number 5. Of course, Grant Brown bringing the Patriot Media Marketing Services to the forefront here tonight with the sponsor. So great to see a number 52 inside the top 10 there, Greg.
And we're going into the 11th position is Alan Young in the number 24. We've talked about him being knocking on the door of a win in the PC Premier Series several times, and he won the opening Throwback Series race, so good run for him. Cars rolling on track with Kelsey Rogers to the outside of Alan Young, will start 12th. Michael Krobach, runner-up at Pocono, rolls off 13th with Troy Haight to the outside. Ty Hester back in the field. Been a while since we've seen the number 36 of Hester in the field. He's back in the field tonight with Jimmy McKee to his outside in the McKee Lawn Care Chevy. Michael Whiting, another one of those drivers running the paint scheme tonight. And on our first responders, the 44, Jason Stewart, in the number 1 to his outside. Sam Crow and Jared Haggerty round out the top 20, Peter.
Starting in the 21st position is the number 4 machine of J.R. Bash with Ed Bray to his outside in the number 66 machine. Of course, Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson on the hood of that number 66 machine. Got to give a shout out to them because they sponsor the Thursday night Throwback Cup Series here on 3Y TV for the American Sim Racing Series. Make sure you tune in this week because we got one of those races lined up for you this Thursday. Cody Spiker, Christopher Bouchard, last week's race winner from race number 2 at Pocono, will roll off on row number 12. Richard Stallings and Chris Hughes will roll off from row number 13. Pete Baskins and Mark Myers in the 27 and the 04 machines on row number 14. John Broussard, Tony Schoen round out your top 30. Then in 31st and 32nd, rounding out your 32 car field, the number 43 machine of Richard Fletcher and the 01 of Bradley. Greg, we're getting set to go green flag racing here at Iowa Speedway. 150 laps, 131 miles around this joint. I'm looking forward to this one.
M2, Peter. I love Iowa. This track is just so much fun to watch racing on. And here we go. You see him right there, the two Will Borsler Racing teammates, Will Borsler and Tyler Seville, getting set to come to the green. Here we go, Peter. 150 laps. Let's do it.
Green flag in the air. All of these cars now up to full song almost as they head off into turn number 1. And it is a great start for the number 29 machine of Will Borsler. Oh, man. Is that the 34 of Kelsey Rogers almost in the outside wall? It looked like it. Oh, and now contact in the back. Caution is in the air, and the 36 machine is going around it. Oh, man, that's the 1 machine and the 6 as well. Jason Stewart, Jared Haggerty running into that one. And I'm not quite sure what happened there, Greg. It all started, I think, when the 34 got up out of the racing group, got high, and then there was a coming together right there on the backstretch.
So much for the no caution boundary. We made it half a lap, so 3/8 of a mile. But man, tough break for these guys. Kelsey Rogers, here we go. We're going to see what happened here on the initial start. This is on board with Ty Hester, I believe, in the 36. As you see Rogers up the track there, catch the wall, maybe just a hair, and then they come down. And yeah, just two guys who were looking at the same piece of real estate there. And man, oh man, Chris Hughes, Jason Stewart, Jared Haggerty. Wow, who was that who just squeaked through there in the red and white car there?
Here we go, on board with the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, and we'll see what happened in front of him. Man, there is not much that he could see, just a spinning number 36 machine of Ty Hester, and that is a tough break for the 36 because, of course, Hester was hoping to get a good run in here tonight after not being in the series for quite some time, and he's now got quite a bit of damage on that number 36 machine. There you see Tony Schoen in the number 33 machine, Mark Meyer in front of him. And oh boy, just getting into that one right there at the end. It also looks like Chris Hughes in the 22 machine got a chunk of that one. So that took a lot of our first responders cars in one fell swoop there, Greg, which is a tough break for the 22, the number 1 machine, and others trying to sport their special looks here tonight.
Can't help but wonder if a few of them may run that paint scheme again next week just to try to get a clean run with it. That's just such a heartbreaker for these guys. They put all that time and effort into a paint scheme, and then it's washed away on lap 1. And there you see Jason Stewart in the number 1 on pit road. And Peter, that's a big shame for Jason Stewart because over the last few months, he has really been impressing us with some gutsy calls that pay off for him, not just in this series, but over in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Series as well. Jason Stewart is known to take a gamble. So all kinds of different stuff has gone on here. So tough break for Jason Stewart in the early going.
And we're getting word that the number 34 machine has taken it to the garage, unfortunately. A tough break here for Kelsey Rogers in that race car. Kelsey qualified in the 12th position and will be the first one to head home here from Iowa. Hopefully we'll get to see him next week here on 3Y TV, the American Sim Racing Series. But Greg, not the night that number 34 was looking for.
No, definitely not. Kelsey Rogers making limited starts in the series this year, and he's had some good runs over the last few weeks, Peter. Think back, I believe it was the Kansas race that he had a wild run going up in the 2nd position and then getting caught up in an accident right around pit stops, which took him out of contention. So tough break for Kelsey Rogers, already behind the wall out of the race in this one. But we're stacking them up 1 to green here with Will Borsler on the pole, but a new challenger to his outside. Greg Evans was able to get around Tyler Seville for the outside pole position for this restart, which will come on lap number 6.
Yeah, and of course, if you guys are enjoying short track action here at Iowa Speedway, make sure you join us next week, August the 4th, Dirty Bird Sim Racing North Wilkesboro 160. We'll take it back to 1987 in North Wilkesboro for some fun action. It's a throwback weekend as well here for the American Sim Racing Series drivers, so they'll get to throw some throwback paint schemes on their race car. So make sure you tune in for that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun, but more fun is in the air here because the green flag is thrown, and we're back to green flag racing. Hopefully we can make it a little bit more than a lap this time as Will Borsler will win the race down to turn number 1 once again. Greg Evans still going to hold on to that second position as they start to fan out here down the backstretch. Was that the number 24 machine of Alan Young in the outside retaining wall coming out of turn number 2? If it wasn't, he got awfully close. But for right now, we're single file for the first 3 cars. AJ Digby battling with Adam Drisky for the 4th position. They start to get single file back there as you look out the back of the number 29 machine. But good news is here, Greg, we've gone a full lap, green flag. Hopefully these drivers can settle in.
Hey, we made it a lap, but battle beginning to brew for the lead. But as that's going on, I'm keeping my eye on the 14 of AJ Digby, Peter. He was having a little bit of connection issues on the 1 to green that lap. Seems to stable out now, but I did see a little bit of connection issues on the 14 under that caution. Keeping an eye on him, he's looking good, tracking down Tyler Seville in the number 11 in 3rd, as Will Worsler got a really good exit there up front to get away from Greg Evans, but Evans comes fighting right back on the inside. And 2 of the fastest cars in the series all season long. 1 win for Will Worsler, 8 for Greg Evans right now, but it's Worsler leading the way here early.
Yeah, now we'll get to start to see the drivers running slightly different lines, making use of that variable banking. We saw it right there in turn number 1 and 2. Let's see it again here in turn number 3 and 4 as Greg Evans going to use that inside groove, try and get a little bit of bite through the center of the corner to pull up off, get past Will Worsler, unable to do so as we're right on board with that number 2 machine right now, diving off now into turn number 1 and 2. It's kind of like a conveyor belt, this racetrack. It's which conveyor belt are you going to choose that's going to kind of pull you through? I'm thinking of some of those racing games like Mario Kart that give you just kind of a boost in one groove versus another. That's kind of what this racetrack feels like sometimes. Just pick your lane. Which one are you going to choose to get around the car in front of you? Are you going to save your tires and all of that good jazz? So we'll have to see which line will prevail here tonight at the Iowa Speedway. Looking a little bit further back in the pack, here's Cody Spiker doing battle with the number 44 of Michael Whiting. Ed Bray now under fire from, that's either the 52 or the 53. Either way, it's pretty much both of them because Grant Brown in the 52 is right underneath the 66 of Ed Bray, and he's got John Broussard in the 53 right behind him, and that's a big wiggle out of Grant Brown coming out of turn number 4. Great save, but that's going to allow Ed Bray to hold on to that spot.
Bray holding on to the spot for now, but we'll see how it goes for the next few laps as the battle will continue. Good racing going on throughout the pack, Peter. This is Doug Mullins in the 18 trying to get around Brian Yazik in the number 55. Yazik, of course, winner at Kentucky. Followed it up with a win in the Throwback Series 2 days later. And Peter, don't forget, this is not our only broadcast of this week. We also have the Throwback Series coming up this Thursday. We're back at Pocono, but the Legacy Pocono, the 90s version of Pocono coming up for the ASRS Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Series. So we're back in action, same bat time, same bat channel here on 3Y TV Thursday night with the Throwback Series as Brian Yazik looks for 2 in a row in that series.
Yeah, I absolutely love the 1987 cars, and I love them running on some of the throwback tracks here in the iRacing service. Of course, you know, the legacy quote-unquote racetracks. It's going to be really cool to see them at Pocono. Love that racetrack. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to be shifting in those old cars. And if they are shifting, you have to remember, those cars don't have straight cut gears. They don't. You actually have to use the clutch with those race cars, unlike these current modern day Cup cars where you can just kind of blip the throttle. So be interesting to see if we see any drivers with missed shifts at Pocono if they are shifting. So definitely make sure to tune in for that one here on 3Y TV. But up in the front, it is Will Worsler leading by a couple tenths of a second over Greg Evans. Tyler Seville currently sitting in 3rd. AJ Digby back in 4th, right where he qualified. And then it is a bit of a gap back to the number 55 machine in the 5th position of Brian Yazik, your race winner from Kentucky. It wasn't Kansas, it was Kentucky, the other K that's found in the heartland of the United States. Another 1.5 mile racetrack, but nonetheless, Brian Yazik's only win in the Cup Series this season came at Kentucky. Can he get win number 2 here tonight? And Greg, this is back around the 17th position or so. These drivers back here still racing very closely for those positions. We saw Ed Bray in the 52 do battle a couple laps ago. Now the 53 of John Broussard is to the inside of the number 66, as well as Michael Whiting right in front of them in that bright red number 44. Got Brookside Equipment Sales, and we got an accident right in front of these drivers, and that's the 52 of Grant Brown, who has ended up in the outside wall. Ooh, Mark Myers there having to make some avoidance. Let's see what happened here, Craig.
Look on the 3Y TV replay of what happened here. I believe that's Sam Crow right in front of him. Yes, it is. So Crow and Brown. Oh my, what happened there?
Yeah, I want to see that one from an aerial cam because
Crossover gone bad, perhaps. I'm not sure who. Well, this aerial view will tell the story right here. Let's see.
You know what? We saw that. It looked like the 52 kind of just shot up the racetrack. Let's see if we can go possibly on board with the number 52 machine, because I think what happened is he got those bumps down in turn number 1 that I mentioned earlier in the show. Let's see what happened here. He's down there, and you just kind of saw that car just kind of get hoppy. And when it got hoppy, it got up out of the groove. The tires lost grip and straight up into the side of Sam Crow in the number 5 machine. So definitely a tough break there for both of those drivers. I know that Grant Brown was hoping to have a show here tonight for Patriot Media and Marketing Services, but definitely a lot of damage on both of those race cars after a heavy hit.
It's a tough break. Sam Crow getting a lot of damage in that one. Lucky dog for this one, I believe, will be the one of Jason Stewart, who's coming back around now, so he will get back on the lead lap now. But he does have quite extensive repairs done to that number 1 car. Remember, no fast repairs in this series, Peter, so the damage that you get is with you throughout the course of the day unless he can get it fixed. You see Ty Hester still on pit road. That's Tony Schoen coming down the 33. Sam Crow down there. Jared Haggerty been off and on pit road. A lot of drivers have been off and on pit road with some damage in the early stages. You see Chris Hughes also with some damage. But these guys up front, Will Worcester, Greg Evans, Tyler Seville, and company up here have done a good job keeping it clean here for the first 20 laps. But we still got 130 to go.
Yeah, still a long way to go. How's it going, chat? We got Seth Olson. I guess we had discussion on who's your pick in Mario Kart. Well, Greg, you said always Yoshi. We had we had Carlos Acosta say Luigi or Waluigi. Seth Olson says Wario. And mine is Donkey Kong. I love racing as Donkey Kong. Partly because I had a good friend of mine. I used to race against him all the time. Some of you people who know sim racing and have done a lot of sim racing for a long time might actually know him. David Krikorian, DK is what he used to go by. I used to race with DK all the time back in the NR 2003 days. Still raced with him a little bit at the beginning of the iRacing years, but he's now doing a lot of dirt racing and stuff, so hope you're well, David Krikorian. But, really, love DK. Donkey Kong's my man in
Looks like Mitch
whenever
Brown's
I play.
with you too. Looks like Mitch Brown's with you too.
Yeah, so anyway, great to see that. Let us know who your driver is. Mitch Brown saying Toad. Toad's a good shout. I like Toad. And Nikki saying Peach as well. So great to see that we got a bunch of people in the chat telling us who they're. And I like that pretty much everyone's somebody different. Greg, because
I was gonna say, glad that no one else took Yoshi, so that means I've got free pick of mine. Oh, and as I say it, the DMLT Racing channel says Yoshi, so I'm like, of course.
I was gonna say, because that'd be really cool, because we could have everyone in the same race, and everyone would be someone different, and everyone would be happy. So nonetheless, hope you're all doing well in the chat here tonight at Iowa Speedway. Will Worcester has led every single lap so far here tonight, so that is good news for that Will Worcester racing machine. Tyler Seville sitting in the 3rd position, sandwiching the number 2 of Greg Evans. And Brian Yazek still sitting down in 5th, right behind of AJ Digby. Doug Mullins, one of the other Will Worcester racing machines, down in 6th. Adam Jersky, Alan Young, John Jenkins, and Jimmy McKee so far rounding out your top 10. But Greg, one thing that we have to keep an eye on tonight is, of course, the Hard Charger Award. And so far, the hardest charger of the race is John Broussard in the number 53 machine. He has gained 12 positions from where he started in that race car. There he is, Glassdoor Brewing on the hood of that Chevrolet. So we'll have to see whether or not he can hold on to that spot for the remainder of the night, Greg, but we're about to go green.
Or keep it going and gain more and more spots, and we'll see how it goes for him. Another guy who's up 10 positions I saw back in the field. Have to follow up on that layer as the green flag is back out. Will Worcester and Greg Evans shoot down into turn number 1. Big jump out of Will Worcester that time. Good restart for the 29.
Yeah, good restart for the number 29 machine. Greg Evans sitting right behind him, and then it's where we find the number 14 machine of AJ Digby getting around Tyler Seville. So remember, we saw Digby a couple weeks back get his first career podium in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. He's trying to get win number 1 in tonight's Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150 here at Iowa. Looking out back, ooh, is that the number 72 of Krobach up against the outside wall? I think Krobach might have hit the berm, so to speak, kind of a proverbial berm in turn number 1 and 2 that there's just up there in that high groove with all of those bumps, and sometimes it can shoot you up the racetrack. We've already seen it a couple times here tonight. Lap number 1 and just a couple laps ago when we had the second caution flag of the night. Here we go on board with the number 24 machine of Alan Young going through turn number 3 and 4 right now. You can see Doug Mullins with Porcupines on the side of that Chevy Camaro right inside of him. And you can see the number 18 machine right down there as Alan Young still trying to get around him, trying to find that grip in the high groove here. Greg, very difficult to do so.
Speaking of trying to get the position, Greg Evans has taken a swipe at Will Worcester the last 2 corners for the race lead. Worcester able to defend it both times, so Greg Evans was to the door of Will Worcester. This spot last time, turn 1 and 2, Worcester going back on defense, but going back to watching there with onboard Alan Young and Doug Mullins, and we were seeing the same thing with Evans there. Drivers able to get to the door, but passing not really coming easy here thus far, as Evans taking another peek to the inside. So Greg Evans looks like he may like the bottom here at Iowa so far, but it's been all Will Worcester. Believe Worcester has led every lap thus far, but not without pressure from that number 2 of Evans.
Yeah, Worcester currently holding on to about a quarter of a second race lead over the number 2 machine, but AJ Digby now, and we have caution as I say that. We got a couple of cars around in turn number 1 and 2. Brad Lee in the 01. Ty Hester also has gone around for the second time here tonight in the number 36 machine. He's now missing a rear deck lid. Ooh, looks like Haggerty might have been involved in that one. J.R. Bash in the number 4 machine also involved. To see if we can get another view of that one there, Greg.
Haggerty up there on the outside of Hester. Coming down into number 1. Bradley just an innocent bystander there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that one's a tough one to call. It kind of seems like possibly Jason. Was that Jason Stewart in the number 1 machine? No, it was not. It was Haggerty in the number 6 machine. It looked like he might have thought he was clear on entry to the corner, might have started to come down the racetrack, but he also thought that possibly there might have been a lot more room down there. That's one thing that these variably banked racetracks can do, Greg, is that you have a car kind of wanting to run a middle groove, and the car on the high line wants to run that same line, and they expect the car on the inside to run the low line, but they don't want to run the low line. They want to run the middle groove. Sometimes it can lend itself to what's happened right there. I've seen that very similar thing happen both here before, as well as at Homestead, Miami, another racetrack that has a variable banking. So I'm not all too surprised that we saw that accident happen at this point in the race. But Greg, one thing that I have in the back of my mind is that these drivers have 2 fresh sets of tires on pit road. And I don't think we've seen any drivers elect to use those fresh sets just yet. Do you think we're going to see anyone under this caution?
No, I think if we were going to see him under this caution, we would have seen him by now, Peter. So I think we're going to stay out. Maybe the next caution, if we get about another, what have we seen, 10, 15 lap runs so far? here, just about for those 2 green flag runs, not counting the initial start. But we've seen, what, 10, 15 lap green flag runs or so. I think if we get one more of those, then you might start seeing some guys think about maybe some tires. But it's 150 laps. That would put us right around lap 45 or 50, depending on what lap we take the green. So that would be splitting the race into thirds if you do it that way. And I don't know if I would do that and set up for a 50 lap run to the finish on tires. I think you'd want tires safe, so I think you want to go maybe around lap 60 or so.
All right, well, you heard Greg Rentz's strategy. We'll have to see whether or not any of these drivers elect to use your strategy, Greg. We've called a couple strategies right in our day. We've also called a lot of wrong ones, let's be honest. So,
very wrong. We've been very wrong quite a few times.
Yeah,
remember Indianapolis?
Yeah, what do the commentators know? They don't know very much. We're just up here having a good time here with all of you guys in the chat. Of course, commentating tonight's Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150 here from Iowa. And of course, next week going to the famous race out that iRacing just recently added. It's great to see North Wilkesboro in the iRacing service here.
Peter, have you been back to North Wilkesboro since we were there with the Throwback Series yet?
I have not. I'm very excited to go back.
I love it. It's so much fun. I could drive there every day if I get a shot. It's so much fun there to drive, to commentate. I can't wait to see this series, these cars on that amazing track in the foothills of North Carolina next week. I'm so excited to be back there.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that race, but I'm also excited to go back to Green Flag Racing because we had a battle starting to shape up for the race lead between Will Worsler and Greg Evans. Evans just a slightly faster over the last few laps before we went back to caution here. And can't rule out AJ Digby as well. He was a little bit off the pace of the front two, but definitely on the pace tonight up there inside the top three. So great job by AJ Digby in that number 14 machine so far in tonight's race. Biggest mover, got to keep an eye on that one here tonight. Still John Broussard. He's gained an extra spot, so he is now plus 14 in the number 53 machine. Got Glassdoor Brewing on the hood. Very similar paint scheme to the number 52 of Grant Brown, but the number 53 machine has the red hood. Grant Brown has the blue hood, so you can kind of distinguish between those two drivers there. And Greg, we're seeing Will Worsler here pick the outside line as we're about to get set to go back to green.
Saw this last time, I think, too. I remember correctly. So remember, that's new to the ASRS with this most recent update that iRacing had a few weeks ago. Lane choice is available for league races only now, and Will Worsler taking the outside, and boy, did it work. As I see kind of what he did here, he had Tyler Seville lined up behind him, was able to get a good jump. Seville able to get to the outside of Evans, but Evans able to fend him off in the number 2 as they go down the back chute. Good battle for second. Seville backs off, though, to fall in behind Evans. Look at Digby, and how about Alan Young getting around Doug Mullins? Battle for fourth beginning the brew here between Young and Digby.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, these two drivers have been very much on each other's toes here tonight. I mean, Digby has been very, very fast, but all of the drivers really from about 3rd to around 10th have been pretty similar on pace. We've seen the front two scoot away just a little bit as that 24 machine of Alan Young. It looks like Digby's going to clear him. There's going to be an over-under, and now Young's going to get underneath Digby. This battle for 4th not quite over yet, but this is a great battle, Greg, really from about the 3rd position on back to around 10th. We've seen it in the green flag runs that we have had here tonight. And hopefully we get a little bit more green flag running and kind of find out who's made of what as this race continues.
Yeah, really starting to fan out here with Jersky, Mullins, and I saw John Jenkins down the extreme inside there, your pole sitter. All this kind of going on behind the top 3. You got Tyler Seville trying to break away from AJ Digby a little bit. And once Seville is away from him, from Digby on, it is a hornet's nest back here. You've got Jersky, who's having a great run in the number 69. Caution is out.
Caution flag back in the air here, so no long green flag run, and it's unfortunately Jason Stewart in the number 1 machine who's gone around coming out of turn number 2. Let's just see if we can see what happened here. Oh, JR Bash in the number 4 just shot up out of the racetrack. And ooh, man, I think that's Grant Brown there possibly getting into. Tony Schoen got clipped right there at the end. And Rick, that's very similar to what we saw just a bit ago with the incident involving Sam Crow, with a car just down there on the inside, just all of a sudden shooting up the racetrack.
Yeah, it looked like Bash may have bobbled there and just shot up the track. It was holding down, and all of a sudden just a little bit of a bobble and just snapped to the right on him. And unfortunately, Jason Stewart, wrong place, wrong time. This is on board with Chris Hughes in the number 22. He had the best seat in the house for this one, Peter.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it again. That number 4 machine just hit those bumps. Same bumps that were hit earlier, and that car just kind of shuddered a little bit and shot him up into the side of the number 1 machine. I'd like to see if we could see possibly on board with the number 4 machine. Here we go. And watch this, folks. Right about there, you just saw the car just lurch up into the air just a smidgen. And with a car out on your outside like that, so close, there's just no room for error. And that small little bump bumps you up into the outside car. And tough break for the number 4 machine. Second time we've seen that here tonight. We're going to step away for just a brief moment, play a quick commercial as the number 36 machine of Ty Hester gets back on the lead lap. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
For your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
All right, folks. Well, if you weren't hungry before watching that Slice Pizza Bar commercial, I'm sure you are now. We were all talking about here in the 3Y TV booth about how good that food looks. If you are down in Florida, down around the St. Petersburg area, make sure you check out Slice Pizza Bar because their food looks absolutely delicious. And of course, we have a couple of cars sponsored by Slice Pizza Bar, including your current race leader. That is the number 29 machine of Will Worcester. So far, leading every single laps. Will be 42 laps in the books this time by 108 more circuits around this 7/8 of a mile racetrack. And the pace truck lights have turned off. So, Greg, we're going to get set to go back to green flag action here shortly.
Yeah, getting set to go back green. Will Worcester again taking the outside. It worked last time, but only a couple laps before that green flag run. But talked about it on commercial. One driver came down pit road under that pit stop cycle. AJ Digby, the number 14, the only driver to pit that cycle. He finds himself 23rd position on this restart. And Peter, we were talking about maybe too early for that 14 car, but who knows what can happen. But AJ Digby going bold here on this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Remember, he's still got one fresh set of tires on pit road. We've heard that the tire fall off is about a second after 10 laps. So I would think these drivers are probably 2 seconds off the pace from that number 14 machine. We'll have to see how it all works out as the green flag is back in the air. And look at that jump Then the number 29 machine got huge jump there, Greg Evans going to still slot into second, though. I thought the number 24 of Alan Young would be able to get by the number 2 machine, not able to do so. And we are clean and green side by side now back there between the number 7 and the number 18. That is John Jenkins diving to the inside of Doug Mullins. We're 3 wide as Jenkins now trying to get around the 11 of Seville. That would be 2 positions in a lap for the Max Pappas Innovations number 7 machine right down there on the inside. And he's going to dive it off into turn number 1. Not so fast. Here comes the 11 around the outside.
Bill with a good run on the outside. That number 11 has been so strong and so consistent over the last few weeks, constantly up there in front. Here we go on board with Tyler Seville. Great look at what's going on to his inside with John Jenkins right there. He's got his teammate in the number 18, Doug Mullins, right behind him. Up in front of them, how about the 69 car, Adam Jersky? The Cheesecake is cooking tonight. He's up in 4th right now. Good run for the Beef Jersky's Cheesecake number 69 car right now. 4th place.
Yeah, he had a good qualifying run in that number 69 machine right up there inside the top 5, and backing that up so far with a solid run. Got the points leader with the number 7 of John Jenkins right behind him. Jenkins qualified in 8th, now running in the 5th position, just inside the top 5. And what about AJ Digby? How far has he been able to make it up through the field? He's now up to the 18th position, so he's gained a couple of spots since we went back to green flag in the number 14 machine. There he is now looking to the inside of the number 17 of Richard Stallings. Stallings back there in that bright blue and yellow number 17 machine. We saw him have a good run last week at Pocono, so good job by Richard Stallings in that number 17 machine, currently running around his numbers position back there in 18th right now. But Digby continues to climb through the field on those fresher tires. Just how far can he get here under this green flag run? And Greg, we were pretty much saying that we thought there was going to need to be a green flag run for AJ Digby. Well, as I said that, it's not happening. Caution flag back out.
See what happened here for this one off of turn number 2, I do believe. Some action down the back stretch, and Mark Meyer in the move 4, and I didn't catch the number who he got together with. Was that Hester? It was Hester. I saw the 04. Couldn't tell if it was Hester or the 53.
Yeah,
both there.
Yeah, tough break for these two. I mean, Ty Hester seems like he's been in everything here tonight. I don't think they got too much damage here, though, Greg. So hopefully they just had a little bit of a spin cycle and they can get back going here on board with the number 52 machine of Grant Brown. Got Glassdoor Brewing on the hood. He's got a front row seat of this one. And I got a little bit of left front damage on that number 52 machine just to add to the damage he's already got. Grant Brown is the last driver in the field, still running out there, 13 laps down in that race car, and there might have just been, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if the 36 came down or the fact, he might have just got loose and he's missing a rear deck lid. He's got no rear spoiler to keep that car in the racetrack, so I don't know. That definitely is two cars coming together out there on the racetrack nonetheless.
Got some takers on pit road deep in the field, but still none of our leaders coming down. We got some guys around the 15th or so position that came down pit road, but still our leaders staying out, working lap number 51. This is that spot we talked about that would cut the race into thirds, so looks like drivers are electing to stay out a little bit longer here. Near the front, Sam Crow in the 5 going to get the free pass to get back on the lead lap. But starting to see a mixed bag of strategies now, Peter. We saw Digby pit the last time. Now we're seeing a few drivers on pit road. Saw Michael Whiting, Tim Knott, and a couple others there. But most of the leaders still out there right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see once we go back to green flag here, Greg. I'm just kind of looking at the current standings and who's elected to come down pit road and who hasn't. One driver that's been on pit road twice that we haven't really covered yet is actually the number 50 machine of Christopher Bouchard, last week's race winner from race number 2 at Pocono. He's back in the 14th position. I'm not 100% sure why he's been on pit road twice in the number 50 machine, but he's made a solid recovery. Last time he was on pit road was on lap number 5, so I wasn't quite sure. Maybe there might have been a little bit of damage on that number 50 machine that he had to fix or something like that. But Christopher Bouchard currently being scored in 14th. Last week's race 2 winner from Pocono picked up his first win on the season. And Greg, I know he was glad to kind of strike that one off the list because we've seen Bouchard have some pretty solid runs this year.
Yeah, he's had a lot of speed in qualifying in the number 50. Unfortunately, up until last week, it just hadn't come together for him in a race. And it finally happened last week. So big one there for Chris Bouchard. One more update. The 36 of Ty Hester has been disqualified from the race. He has been parked for the remainder of this race. So Ty Hester done for the day in the 36, not the return that he wanted.
Yeah, definitely not the return he wanted. I mean, you and I were talking about a little bit at the top of the show that it was good to see him back in the field. So hopefully we can see him back in the field here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series soon. And I got to give a huge shout out to Hacksaw PCs. They actually did a giveaway last week at Pocono for a couple of really cool prizes for race number 1 and race number 2 winners, as well as one of the random drivers in the field. So got to give them a huge shout out, not only sponsoring this Premier Cup Series for the American Sim Racing Series drivers, but also along the way giving away some cool prizes. And of course, the champion at the end of the season does walk away with a Hacksaw PC. They actually do get a full-fledged computer that is put up by Hacksaw PCs, and great to have them on board. Got to give them an absolute huge shout out here on YouTube. If you're in the chat watching this race right now, either live or on demand, make sure you check them out. If you need a new computer, if you're in the market and you want some of those good new computer specs, go check them out because very reasonable prices for their builds, Greg. I've been looking at computer parts over the years, and really the markup that they do as a builder, a PC builder, is pretty much unbeatable. So gotta give them a huge shout out. If you don't want to build your own PC, you want to go out there and buy a PC, check them out because very, very, very good prices for their computers for what you get.
Yeah, great supporter of the ASRS Premier Series Hacksaw PCs. Great partner of ASRS, and we love them for stepping up and helping out this series so much. So make sure you check them out for sure. But Peter getting set to come to the green. Will Worsler again taking the high side. Greg Evans still hanging there in the second spot, but it's been all 29 thus far. And here we go. Another good restart for Worsler, but Evans did a much better job hanging with him that time.
Yeah, that number 2 machine, though, still not enough to stay side by side with Will Worsler. So far, the 29 machine has led every single lap, but Evans right to the back bumper. And as they go off into turn number 3 and 4, dives to the inside. Evans trying to get the race lead for the first time tonight. Coming out of turn number 4, it's going to be side by side right to the line. The race leader at the stripe was the number 2 machine. So Greg Evans' first lead change here tonight and crossover in turn number 1 and 2.
Yeah, Worsler going to cross him over. First driver not named Will Worsler to lead lap today is Greg Evans, but Worsler coming back on the inside. Adam Jersky up to third in the number 69, but coming back on the inside, Will Worsler in the 29 is going to get the lead back. Evans now tries to cross over. Worsler leads the lap again. Here comes Jersky into the fray. Woo! Oh, boy. Almost contact. Look at them changing crossovers right now. Slide job after slide job from the 2 and the 29. Great racing.
Yeah, this is what multi-groove racing is all about. As Worsler in the 29 slides up a little bit there through turn number 3 and 4 down on the inside groove. Not quite able to hold it this time. Evans still not clear as almost contact in turn number 1 and 2. Worsler going to run him up the racetrack just a smidgen. And here comes the number 69 of Adam Jersky, now all over the back bumper of Greg Evans.
John Jenkins, the points leader, in 4th also. He took a big swipe at Jersky there in the 69, gained about half a second there that time. So John Jenkins going full send in turn number 3. He's up to 4th as he is now taking a peek to the inside of Jersky. Speaking of taking a peek, Greg Evans back to the inside of Will Worsler. Worsler, though, with a big exit there, able to pull away. Good run on exit from Will Worsler. Adam Jersky closing in. Here comes Jenkins on the inside. So they're starting to close back in. That side-by-side racing is allowing the rest of the field to get back up there. Remember, none of these guys up front have pitted yet. We're working lap 60.
Mark Conan, the DMLC Racing Channel, says in a Joey Logano voice, that short track racing. And I'll tell you what, this is some fantastic short track racing. Battle for the race lead battles all over the racetrack. We're now a little bit further back. Here's AJ Digby back in 14th. And Greg, we were wondering if that pit stop would work out for him. He's kind of mired back in traffic, not able to do anything. You see him kind of boxed in there in that number 14, right behind Brian Yazek and the number 50 of Bouchard, trying to use that low line to his advantage. Unable to do anything just yet in that race car. But Greg, I do want to mention one thing about when AJ Digby came down and pitted. I expect to see about a 100-lap pit window here tonight, and the number 14 machine might be in the window to make it on fuel, especially with a couple of cautions that we've got. So that's going to be a little bit of a question. If this race were to go caution-free from here, now we haven't quite seen a green flag run here tonight as of yet, but possibly, just maybe, AJ Digby could make it to the end of the race on fuel. Maybe he's thinking that right now. Maybe he's saving fuel. I don't know, but he's currently back there in the 13th position with that race car. Up the front, the race lead has grown. Will Worcester now up to about 0.4 of a second race lead over Greg Evans. Adam Jersky has just lost the 3rd position to John Jenkins. Now there they are, still battling for that position. So Jersky not backing down just yet. He runs well wide in turn number 1, trying to get that slingshot, keep that momentum up on the backstretch. Looks like he does. Good job by Jersky to fend off your current points leader, the number 7 machine of John Jenkins. Alan Young there in the 24, not out of the picture as well, inside the top 5. And Greg, once again, Alan Young putting together a good run, as it looks like Jersky's going to hold on to 3rd.
We keep talking about Alan Young in that 24 and how impressive he's been over the last 2 months or so in this series. Been knocking on the door of a win. A couple of podiums this season. Got the win in the Throwback Series a few weeks ago. Trying to break through for that first Cup Series win. And doing a very fine job of it so far here at Iowa. And boy, he had such a strong run in New Hampshire 2 weeks ago, Peter. I thought we were going to see Alan Young perhaps break through at New Hampshire. Wound up finishing in the top 5. Great run for him as he's trying to now follow John Jenkins through, as Jenkins has finally been able to clear the 69 of Jersky, so move the points leader up into 3rd. But there's some good racing going on back in the pack here. We got Troy Haight side by side back there. We saw some good battling going on here. Troy Haight, there's Jimmy McKee, one of the Dirty Bird cars, can't tell who it is. There's Chris Bouchard. Great racing going on back there.
And going back to Alan Young, Greg, do you remember where he won that Thursday night Throwback Cup Series race at?
With Wilkesboro.
Do you know where we go next week?
Yeah, Wilkesboro.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll tell you what, we're closing in, Greg, here on the halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, Greg, we are going to announce what driver won the best paint scheme for the first responders paint scheme. That was, of course, chosen by us here on 3 White TV. We all got together prior to the race. We all picked a paint scheme that we all liked. And Greg, we also find out who will get the halfway bonus. There's $5 to the halfway leader here, and that's only just a couple laps away. So we'll announce both at the same time at the halfway mark. But Will Worcester pretty much led every single lap. Not every single lap, because the number 2 of Greg Evans has led a couple in that machine, but we have some great battles all throughout this field right now. And up at the front 2 have scooted away once again.
Evans putting pressure on once again, going for that bonus. We're about 5 laps away from that halfway bonus. Whoever leads lap number 75 will get that bonus. We're working lap 70 right now. Will Worcester has been the fastest car in town today, but Greg Evans not letting him get away, but a slide out of that number 2 off the turn 4 that time, allowing Worcester to open it back up a little bit. They have opened up 2 seconds now over John Jenkins in 3rd. 2-time winner this season is that number 7 of Jenkins. So trying to get up and close back in, but a long way to go for that number 7 car. Up front though, Worcester and Evans going back to battle once again as Evans again peaks low.
Yeah, I've been watching these two up at the front, and they've just been trading fastest laps between one another. It seems like Worcester could scoot away just a little bit, and Evans then closes back in. So a great battle for the race lead here, as we're now just a couple laps away from the halfway mark. Where is AJ Digby, folks? Well, the number 14 machine has gotten all the way up into 7th. And Greg, we're seeing a little bit of a green flag run. That's what AJ Digby needed to use those fresher tires. Now, the bad news for Digby is he isn't quite to the spot he was at before that caution flag came out. Remember, he was up inside the top 5, so it hasn't quite worked out for AJ Digby yet. But if this race can go caution-free for the next 15 or 20 laps or so, I think we could be seeing a different story, because Digby is all over the back bumper of Crowbot.
Crowbot taking a peek to the outside is Digby there. On the inside, battle going on in front of them between Alan Young and Jersey. Digby is going to get the spot there. I tried saying 3 names at once there. That didn't work out very well. But here's my concern with Digby right now. These drivers he's racing with, they still have yet to pit. And Digby now has about 25 more laps on the tires than them and counting. So when these guys do pit, Digby might be in some trouble. I'm a little worried about that with the 14 car. But Peter, we're working the halfway lap. Who's it going to be, Worsler or Evans? Turn 3 right now. This is for the halfway bonus between Worsler and Evans. Evans taking a peek, coming in the line for halfway. Worsler's going to get it.
That will be $5 to that Slice Put Pints number 29 machine. Will Worsler picking up the halfway check here tonight at Iowa in the Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150. But Greg, we also have to give away the $10 check for the best looking first responders paint scheme. And Greg, why don't you let the fans know who's going to win that $10 here tonight?
Well, we talked about it. We went back and forth on a couple different options, and I'm sure this young man will be happy to hear it because he's had a rough go of it today. We settled on the number 1, Jason Stewart, we thought was the best appearing first responders car. What sealed it for me was the fact that he's got all the little logos scattered throughout the car of all the first responders. We have our paramedics, our fire department, our police department, all scattered throughout the car. We had a bunch of different things. We weighed quite a few options, but we settled on that number 1 of Jason Stewart. Unfortunately, got a little banged up in the opening stages, and it's been a tough go since then. But congratulations to Jason Stewart. We love the car, and that's $10 for winning first responder night here for us as best appearing car.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he might have needed a first responder once or twice here tonight with that number 1 machine, but he's still plugging away out there on the racetrack, currently being scored in the 23rd position. Of course, there's also a payout for the hard charger of the race, and that is still held by the number 53 machine of John Broussard. He's plus 15 from where he started in this race here tonight. There he is, just past the halfway distance, and good job for him keeping that number 53 machine nice and clean. There is the number 44 machine, though. Michael Whiting trying to take that spot away from him. But Greg, we're just past halfway. Why don't we go through the field, starting with your current race leader, Will Worsler. He's led pretty much every single lap here tonight, clean and green on that number 29 machine. Not even a scratch on it. Very, very fast. You can see right there, started on the pole, still your race leader. And really hasn't really put a step wrong so far. That over-under crossover moves with the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, right behind him was a lot of fun to watch. And there he is with his first responders paint scheme. I gotta say, it was a honorable second mention to this number 2 machine. He was the runner-up in our polling prior to the start of the race, and a very good-looking race car as well. Gotta love the fact that he's using the spec maps on that number 2 race car and that very shiny number 2 machine. I'm very excited to see what he will throw out next week in the throwback race at North Wilkesboro. But for the 8-time race winner so far this season, Greg Evans, so far a pretty solid race running in the 2nd position there, Greg.
Good run for Greg Evans. How about the guy in 3rd, your points leader, John Jenkins, in the number 7, 2-time race winner this season, started 8th, quietly making his way up to 3rd, pulling away from the guys behind him. Very quiet run for John Jenkins by John Jenkins standards, but climbing through the field, up in 3rd right now. Good run for your points leader, looking for win number 3 on the season. Behind him, he has climbed back into the top 5. The 14 of AJ Digby took that pit stop earlier, about 40 laps ago now, and he still has one more set of tires, so maybe this might work out for him, Peter, because now we're in that window. He can make it on just one more stop and pit with the rest of them. He needed a green flag run to get himself back into this position. He got it. AJ Digby taking a little bit of a strategy here and making it work. He's 4th right now. A battle beginning to brew for 5th between Alan Young and Michael Krobach. Krobach getting the position up in front right now. Krobach 2nd in race number 2 last week at Pocono in the doubleheader. He has had a good run in that number 72. Locked in the battle with Alan Young, who we've mentioned time and time again, so close to breaking through and getting that first Cup win of the season. Here he is riding in 6th. Under pressure from Tyler Seville, the Michigan winner, in the number 11. And it has been a quiet run for Seville as well. Was up as high as 2nd early in the race, but kind of been mired back in traffic throughout much of the race. But Seville starting to make his way back up through the field. In 7th right now, going to be 6th as he tries to get around Alan Young, but he's got his teammate behind him, Peter.
Yeah, Doug Mullins in one of the Slice Porcupines machine. He's kept that number 18 machine nice and clean. And so far, pretty much inside the top 10 all night long. Gotta love that paint scheme on Doug Mullins' number 18 machine. Also got the bold bikini on the back of that race car, but a pretty quiet night so far for Mullins, just kind of plodding away inside the top 10. We'll have to see if he can start to make some noise towards the end of the race. Here's Brian Yazik right behind him in the 9th position. He's kind of had an up-down night here tonight. He dropped back a little while ago, even outside the top 10 in the number 55 APBsimulation.com Ford, but he's back up into the 9th position trying to work his way forward. And in fact, over the last few laps, Yazik's actually reeling in some of the cars in front of him. So we'll have to see if Yazik has saved a little bit of his stuff for this long green flag run that we're starting to see, which is some good news. We haven't seen a long green flag run here tonight, and we're finally getting to see that. Ed Bray, a good, solid run for Ed Bray, currently inside the top 10. And Ed really is wanting to see some of those good, solid runs. Seems like it's been a while since we last saw Ed Bray put together a full, solid run in that number 66 machine. It hasn't been all of his own doing. Seems like he gets caught up in a few other people's messes at times. Some bad luck going against this number 66 machine as of late. But right now, inside the top 10 and trying to work his way forward in the field, he has made one pit stop here tonight. 43 laps ago, he pitted the same time that AJ Digby did in that race car. So he's on the same strategy as Digby with a little bit fresher tires than the cars in front of him, using that fresh tires to get up into the top 10. But Greg, I believe you've caught up with the 11th place man, and that's Christopher Bouchard right now out there on the racetrack.
Got last week's race 2 winner in Pocono climbing through the field. He's up 13 spots, so he's right up there in the mix for Hard Charger as well, as he needs 2 more spots to be able to crack above John Broussard right now. Several drivers up plus 10, 11, and 12, all knocking on the door of that Hard Charger war with John Broussard. Chris Bouchard is one of them in that number 50. Winner last week at Pocono, finally getting the breakthrough, and now putting the pressure on Alan Young, who's going the wrong way on the scoring pylon, and Bouchard trying to crack the top 10. Behind him, Cody Spiker in the number 19. Quiet night for him as well. He's up 11 spots from his 23rd starting position, riding in 12th right now, and kind of just hanging out behind Bouchard to follow in his steps and try to get his way through the field. Good run for Spiker in the number 19. Quiet night for him. See if he can break into the top 10 before this is over. Behind him, Michael Whiting into the 44. He's been in and out of the top 15 all day, currently riding in 13th position in that red number 44. Good looking Brookside Chevy Camaro tonight for him. We're used to seeing him in the yellow car. It was nice to see change of pace for the red tonight. He's riding in the 13th position. Richard Stallings up 11 spots in the number 17 behind him. And Peter Stallings has really been climbing through the field as well. Quiet run for him. We don't get to talk about Stallings a whole lot, but good run for that number 17 of Stallings, 14th position. Good run for him thus far. Rounding out the top 15, Adam Jersky, who was up as high as 3rd earlier today. So problems developing on the number 69, getting through the field after perhaps pitting there later in the race. Currently sitting in 15th position, rounding out the top 15.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at some of the drivers who have pitted. Jersky in the 69 actually has not come down pit road yet. Michael Whiting came down pit road 48 laps ago. It looks like he took tires on the number 44 machine. Richard Stallings came down pit road 36 laps ago, but he did not elect to take 4 tires, and he just took fuel. The big question is, if this race goes caution-free, we still have, 54 laps to go, as I can't do math. But with only 54 laps to go, can any of these drivers make it on fuel? That's a big question. I'm looking at drivers like Richard Stallings, who only pitted 35 laps ago. I believe Richard Stallings can make it to the end on fuel, no question. But we do know your race leader, Will Warser, cannot. Greg Evans cannot. Question mark on AJ Digby. He pitted with about 110 laps to go, did get a couple of cautions. I expect the pit window to be about 90 to 100 laps here tonight. I think Digby might just be outside the window. It'd be interesting to see whether or not that is the case on the number 14 machine. But I do know Stallings can make it to the end on fuel. Whether or not that will work out for him, because we've seen that fresh tires are so much quicker, I'm not 100% sure. But Greg, we could end up with a shock winner if this race goes caution-free.
Yeah, who knows what could happen. And one guy who does not want to see that is that number 29, Will Worsler, who has had such a good run going. Needs to pit here soon. We're on lap 100, so we're starting to close in now. We're within a few laps of that fuel window, so we will start seeing drivers on pit road very quickly, I believe, as I think we may be starting to see some drivers key up and signal that they might be getting ready to come down pit road. Yes, we are. Worsler coming down, and he had a big slide coming down pit road there.
Huge slide. Looked like he locked up the rear brakes just a little bit. Here comes Michael Krobach in the 72 HPPsimulation.com machine, as well as Tyler Seville, Doug Mullins. So lap number 100, we got some takers on pit road. Looks like Greg Evans in the number 2 machine might be coming down this time as well. But that was a huge slide out of the number 29 machine of Worsler, who's going to win the race off pit road. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. We stay green here, 50 more laps remaining. And Greg, we've seen the leaders blink first. We saw the number 29 machine come down pit road. What's the rest of the field going to do? How long do they have until they come down pit road? Especially this man right here, John Jenkins. When will he come down the down pit road? He is your current race leader. He's going to stay out there on the racetrack right now. You can see him getting a little bit slideways coming out of turn number 4, as we now have under 50 laps to go.
The tires are screaming on these cars, Peter. So if I'm staying out, I need to come down pit road as soon as I can. But Jenkins might be trying to get a couple of laps of advantage on these tires once we get going. Remember the fall off that we saw. Here he comes down pit road now. John Jenkins coming down pit road. Race leader and points leader after leading 2 laps on today. Slides into the pit road. So this brings an interesting one now, Peter. This brings AJ Digby to the lead in the number 14. He has already pitted back around lap 40. 60 laps on the tires compared to the 100 that these guys had with them. If you're AJ Digby, you've still got a set of tires down there. Do you pit again now on sequence with the rest of the field, or do you stay out?
Oh boy, you're asking a tough question. A very, very tough question. I think it depends, honestly, on whether or not he thinks he can make it on fuel, or just how far he could go. If he can only make it another 20 laps or so, I don't think it's worth coming down pit road. If he can make it another 30, 35 laps or so, I think that's a little bit better chance that you'll get a lucky caution and get yourself a big lead out of this whole deal. So I think personally it would be a decision. I'd weigh up my options. I would try and figure out what the chances are of a yellow coming out. We've got a little bit of a green flag run here going. We've seen how the tire fall off, as you see Greg Evans on those fresh tires just dive into the inside of the number 14 machine right there. We have seen how the tire fall off kind of plateaus after about 15, 20 laps. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But for right now, AJ Digby in the number 14 machine is your current race leader. He's just hoping a caution flag comes out here in between now and when these other cars pit. But as you can see right there, one thing I noticed about this pit sequence is that Greg Evans, even though he pitted 1 lap later, he got a huge jump over the number 29 to Will Worcester on pit road. Great pit stop by the number 2 machine. It was a very smooth pit entry by Evans to get that jump on Will Worcester, who's led so much of tonight's race.
Yeah, I was getting ready to tell you, hey, Peter, look what happened on pit road, but you saw it. And there was actually a car between them there for a minute, Mark Myers, in the 04. So Greg Evans right now in the 2 in front of Will Worcester. Still several drivers have yet to come down. And these are all drivers I'm noticing, Peter, that pitted earlier in the race because of damage and other reasons. So these guys can still go for quite a bit here. So definitely quite a few different strategies here. We saw the mixed bag earlier, drivers pitting around, remember around lap 50, I talked about the guys pitting around 15th or so. These are the guys that are up front now. They can go the rest of the way on fuel. Can they go the rest of the way on tires and keep these guys who just pitted, Greg Evans and Will Forsler, at bay? This entire race just got turned on its lid with this long green flag run. If this thing stays green the rest of the way, I don't know what's going to happen.
So, I'm looking at lap counts right now. Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine, currently riding in the 2nd position. He's done 110 laps on his race car. That is the number that AJ Digby needs to get to make it to the end of the race on fuel. He pitted on lap number 40, 110 laps to go, and AJ Digby here, still your race leader. And Yazik is kind of showing me that it is possible, it is plausible that AJ Digby could make it to the end of the race on fuel. We know Yazik has to come down pit road. I don't think there's any question about that. He has yet to come down pit road in the number 55 machine, currently running in the 2nd position. But what about what about the 17 of Richard Stallings? Stallings, he pitted 13 laps after AJ Digby. Richard Stallings does not have to come down pit road. We know that. But then you have the drivers on fresh tires. Greg Evans, Will Worcester. They're trying to run down the 17 machine and the 55.
Woo.
As contact there between the 55 and the 04. Mark Myers and Yazik there having a little bit of hit check. Greg, that number on the left-hand side of your screen, laps since last pit stop, that is telling a very interesting tale right now.
That is definitely throwing a huge wrench in this one. And boy, remember what I said earlier about maybe lap 60 is when we would see guys on pit road? Richard Stallings came in about lap 60, 61 or so, and we know he can make it the rest of the way. Here he is, just got 2nd. Brian Yazik coming down pit road into number 55. So he is going to be the last car to come down pit road. But man, Richard Stallings came down pit road right around the time that I said I would, and here he is up in 2nd place. No, he's good to go on fuel. This is working out pretty nicely for that 17. How about Michael Whiting in the 44 as well? He's up there in the 3rd spot. He can make it on fuel as well. So a lot of different strategies here at play. And AJ Digby, Richard Stallings, Michael Whiting, who had this as the top 3 coming into the race.
The big question right now, though, Greg, is I'm looking at lap times. I'm looking at Richard Stallings, Michael Whiting versus Greg Evans and Will Worcester. Well, Stallings last time by a 25.4 versus Greg Evans, a 24.4. That's a full second. And you see that on the left-hand side of your screen. Right now, there's only about 10 seconds between Greg Evans and Richard Stallings. So, you know, we're kind of throwing the possibility of Stallings walking away and staying out there on the racetrack and making it to the end on fuel. I don't think there's any question there. The numbers are saying, though, Greg Evans in the number 2 machine is absolutely flying, and he will run them down. Of course, catching them is one thing, passing them is another, and I'm sure drivers like Stallings and Whiting are hoping that those tires will start to level off between them. Maybe once the good gets taken out of them. But here we are with 33 laps to go, and AJ Digby still holding on to the race lead up at the front over Stallings and Whiting. Question mark is whether or not Digby will make it the rest of the way on fuel. We know Stallings and Whiting are more than likely good. Ed Bray in the 66 as well. But once again, different strategies coming into effect, and we've talked about it many times this season, Greg. This series does tire limits and it has put on some spectacular races so far this season. If you have missed some of the races here on 3Y2, make sure you go check them out, because each and every week these guys put on a show.
Oh, it is a spectacular show each and every week with this series, Peter, as the tire limits just add so much drama to it. And boy, we saw it. I believe it was Michigan where the tire conservation versus the fuel mileage came into play, and it wound up being the fuel mileage game with Tyler Seville getting the win in the number 11. So it has been a wild one here today. Wow, look at Will Borsler, Jared Haggerty, Brian Yazik all up there. Borsler, don't count him out yet either, because he is still tracking about a second behind Greg Evans in the two, hanging in there with him. It's been chipping away little by little for that number 29, so it's not over yet between the 2 and the 29 either, but still a long way to go for Borsler, but it's still not done yet, as now I believe we see the leader Digby in heavy lap traffic as well. And these are the guys trying to get around him and get their laps back. Troy Haight, Alan Young, Cody Spiker, Adam Jersky, and others. Richard Stallings closing in on this as well.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I've been noticing about Digby is he's running a little bit higher up on the racetrack. Even though he's got those older tires, he's been hitting those bumps a little bit hard in turn number 1 and 2 because of the other cars passing him. I'm just wondering, if you're AJ Digby right now, man, try and run your line. Let the other cars pass you. They have the fresher tires. You do you at this point in the race. You are the race leader, and Digby needs to grab the bull by the horns here in the final 28 laps and say, hey, guys, I want to get my first career Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series win, using a little bit of strategy here at Iowa to get himself up to the front here with 28 laps to go, trying to hold out on fuel to make it to the end of the race. Richard Stallings still sitting in the second position, and right now, as Ed Bray in the 66 machine, he's going to peel down pit road. So Bray's 73 lap run here comes to an abrupt end. That's kind of interesting to see that, Greg. I was expecting to see these drivers making a little bit more than 73 laps, but that's how long it was since Ed Bray was last on pit road. I'll have to see whether or not he's able to make up for that one here shortly. But up at the front, it is still AJ Digby, who has been out there for 86 laps this time by. Just needs to go another 26 laps to get to this end of the race. But
Caution.
a caution flag is out.
And this is going to flip it on its lid, because now we're at a spot now where pretty much everybody has to pit. Taking a look at what happened on the 3YTV replay.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, man, the 50 and the 1 might have had a little bit of a coming together. The number 1 machine went for a big slide. That's Jason Stewart. He's running around the 10th position or so. I think he was one of those drivers on an alternate tire strategy. But just a little touch, and Jason Stewart goes for a long slide. Good job to get that car saved and stay out of the walls. But now this race is turned on its head, and I expect to see pretty much everyone on pit road, which is a good job for AJ Digby.
It worked out perfectly for AJ Digby. And how about Richard Stallings? That strategy working out for him as well. But they are all on pit road for 4 fresh tires. And we got the 2 fastest cars, Greg Evans and Will Worsler. They're back in the top 5 as well. They're going to be right up there.
Oh, man, was that AJ Digby overshooting his pit box just a little bit? I think it was. I saw it happen to John Jenkins in the number 7 machine while we were under green flag racing. Who's going to win the race off pit road? We're watching this here as we see left sides go up on 29. Looks like Digby's going to get the race off pit road first. So he's able to recover from any mishap he had there. Richard Stallings in the number 17 comes out second. Great job for Stallings. And then it is the number 2 machine of Greg Evans, followed by Will Worsler in the number 29 machine. So we're going to be set here for a grandstand finish, I'm sure, in the final 24 laps. We're going to see if we can dial up some of these drivers here, Greg. Maybe we can get a quick word from possibly the man who's leading the race right now. Let's see if we can dial up Will Worsler. Assuming not Will Worsler, but the number 14 of AJ Digby, excuse me. Greg, take it away.
Will Worcester, Greg Rents, 3YTV, got a copy. Or I'm sorry, AJ Digby. Peter threw me off.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Well, AJ, you took a gutsy call around lap number 40, the only driver to pit during that caution. But man, it worked out for you, and here you are. You're in the race lead, closing stages. How's it feel right now? What's going on?
Well, it feels pretty good to be in the lead. It worked out to a point. I was hoping to actually be able to make it to the end. I think I had enough fuel. It would have been close, but I would have been able to make it to the end. But it looked like the fresher tires of Will and Greg were probably going to catch me before the end anyway. So this caution comes out pretty well. I think I would have made it to the end. So it would have been okay either way. But this gives us a chance to go green. And as long as I can keep the car straight, I should be able to hold up in the top 5. That's where I feel like my speed's been this whole time. And now I got a little bit of clean air, at least for now. So hopefully this restart goes well and can turn this out into a good finish here for the 14 Turn Racing Sim Tools car.
All right, AJ, gonna have the field in your hands here. You got lane choice here, so we'll let you get ready for this restart, but good luck the rest of the way. Maybe we'll see you back here on the post-race show.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that is driver of the number 14 machine, your current race leader, AJ Digby. Now, we do have quite a few cars here electing to take the wave around, Greg, including drivers like Ed Bray, Richard Fletcher, JR Bash, Brian Yazik in the 55 machine. Remember, he stayed out so long in that race car before he elected to come down pit road. He scored all the way back in the 22nd position, so unfortunately for the Brian Yazik fans, his strategy has not gone to plan. However, he still does have a fresh set of tires on pit road, unlike all these drivers who just came down pit road and used up their final set of Goodyear tires. Also, John Broussard and Jimmy McKee taking the wave around, but Greg Pace, the truck lights are off, and we're going to get set to go back to green flag racing here in just a lap.
So it's going to be a wild one here in Iowa for the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, the Patriot 150 here at Iowa Speedway, and it has been a heck of a race, and we are about to see a wild one here for the shootout. Digby making it work. Richard Stallings has played it to get himself up on the podium for now, but you got the two fastest cars in town, Evans and Worsler, right behind him. Unbelievable show coming your way here. About 20 lap shootout. We're going to ride with Will Worsler, who led the entire first half of the race, Peter. Here we go.
Yep, green flag in the flagman's hand, and the number 14 machine already going. And just like that, Richard Stallings caught out on the restart. He's going to drop all the way back to 30. Sends it off into turn number 1. Contact with the 29 of Worsler. They're still beating and banging. Worsler saves it. The field goes everywhere to avoid this half-spun number 29 machine. Good job by Worsler there to make up for that one. But there was definitely contact there between the 29 and the 17 here on 3YTV replay.
Wild one here. We take a look at the replay. Just a little bit of contact. Big save by Worsler, but now this begs the question, how much damage does that number 29 have? That's the fastest car that was in town here today, trying to get around Michael White, and caution is out again.
Two cars around on the backstretch. It is the number 27 machine of Pete Baskins and Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine who have gone around. We'll have to see what happened between these two. We were watching that replay there between the number 29 machine and the 17. And it looks like they just had it coming together. They're coming out of turn number 2, and they kind of slid to a halt. Let's see if we can get another angle of this one, Greg.
See right there, Baskin on the outside. Seville sliding up in front. Here comes Spiker to the inside, and yeah, just a little bit of contact between Baskins and Spiker sent that into motion there in turn 2.
We got a request in the chat to get an onboard with the number 55 machine of Brian Yazik. Now let's go on board with the number 24 machine of Alan Young here just briefly and see how this all played out. He had a front row view of this and got a little bit of the outside wall, but that could have been a whole lot worse for Alan Young. That number 24 machine, we saw a great run out of him in the first half of the race. Here we go on board with Brian Yazik in the HPVsimulation.com Ford. Look about 7 or 8 cars in front of him. You can see the initial spin there going down low, going through the middle. How about that? Both the inside groove and the outside groove kind of clogged up. So he just split the middle. And now Yazik going to head to his pit box. Now remember, folks, Yazik was one of those drivers who elected to take the waiver round. So the good news is that he's able to come down pit road, get a fresh set of tires, and also get back on the lead lap.
He also needs a new fire suit after that one, Peter. So Brian Yazik definitely coming down pit road for fresh tires and new fire suit for him, but we'll be ready to go. But we are getting set, and now this is going to throw another monkey wrench in, Peter. Does Yazik have enough time, and did the tires wear off enough on that run to give him a little bit of an advantage here?
Well, now, I mean, the big question is going to be, we saw the 14 of Digby and the number 29 of Will Worcester get a huge jump under that last restart. Well, once again, the 14 is going to line up on the outside groove with the number 29 behind him. Can they kind of get another big jump this time? Greg Evans going to be lining up this time in second. That's where the number 17 of Richard Stallings restarted under the last restart. So some slightly different faces up there on this restart than what we saw the last one. Richard Stallings, after that contact with Will Worcester, he slid all the way back to the 8th position. And it was great to see Richard Stallings up there on the front row for that last restart, Greg. We don't talk about Stallings all too much, but the one thing I know about Richard Stallings is that guy knows how to get to the end of a race. Great to see Richard Stallings having a good run here tonight.
Yeah, outstanding run for Richard Stallings in the number 17. Pit strategy paying off for him in the number 17, but unfortunate that it doesn't look like it will end the way he wanted to. But AJ Digby's still in the lead, but now he has got a tall task ahead of him, Peter. He's got Greg Evans lining up to his inside.
Yeah, Greg Evans, 8 wins on the season here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Trying to get win number 9. Got race number 1 win last week at Pocono. Trying to pick up a win here tonight. The 150 lapper here, the Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150 here at the Iowa Speedway. Make sure you join us next week for the Dirty Bird Sim Racing event at North Wilkesboro. Should be a fun one. Throwback race, got some throwback cars, throwback paint schemes. Should be a whole bunch of fun here for that race, same time, same place next week. And then after that, we got road course action, the Falcon Race Wraps race from the Glen. And then after that, we go to Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown, race number 7 for the Firecracker 200, of course, at Daytona International Speedway. So definitely going to be a lot of fun, as AJ Digby looks like he's going to line up on the inside here for this one, Greg. So kind of throwing it off. I was expecting him to start on the outside like he did last time, but this time he's going to say, no, I'm going to start on the inside.
So Digby throwing caution to the wind here in that number 14. And our producer's saying that's interesting because he had a teammate behind him. Will Worcester, the 29, would have been 4th right behind him. And now he's going to line up behind Evans. So interesting call here by Digby to take the inside. We'll see how it works out for him. How about Michael Whiting up there in 3rd, Peter?
Yeah, great run for the Brookside Equipment Sales number 44 here tonight as the pace truck dives down pit road, racing the hands of the number 14 machine, and he has shot out of a cannon. Huge jump over the number 2 machine of Greg Evans up at the front. AJ Digby looking for his first career win here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Greg Evans looking for win number 9 on the season. And caution flag once again in the air. And Ed Bray in the number 66 machine turned around in turn number 2. Looks like the number 53 machine, John Broussard, also possibly involved in this one. We'll see what happened here. And 3 wide there on entry into the corner, and Bray just getting the number 53 machine, but we saw Bray already up out of shape.
Ed Bray, the 66, had such a strong run going. Unfortunately, that luck has just caught him one more time. See Broussard with a big send there. 33 is showing. Was trying to give Broussard room because he saw Broussard with the big send in turn number 1, and unfortunately trying to give him room. And Ed Bray was right there, lined up with on board with showing in 33. We'll see what he saw.
Yeah, here we go, going off into turn number 1, and just a little bit of a nudge there on the 66 machine, and Bray did all he could to save that race car, just wasn't quite enough. Good job, though, keeping it off the wall. I'm sure Broussard won't be all too happy he got collected in that one in the 53 machine, but both of those drivers keeping it off the wall. Hopefully damage is minimal. We can see some of that fancy wheel work by the number 66 machine right there. Looks like as soon as he knew he was going to go around and not hit the outside wall, he just kind of let that wheel neutralize itself and just kind of held the brakes, got it stopped, and got it turned back around and got back going. There's the number 4 machine, JR Bash, who will get back on the lead lap in that race car. We have had a couple of retirements here tonight that we haven't mentioned, Greg. We got Brad Lee in the 01 machine, Chris Hughes, Sam Crow, Grant Brown, Ty Hester, and of course Kelsey Rogers, all out of tonight's 150 lap race. 131 mile race. Doesn't look like any of the drivers are going to come down pit road. I do believe all of the drivers have come down and taken their last set of Goodyear tires, so I don't think there's any more fresh set of tires left on pit road. I want to give a shout out to Michael Whiting and Richard Stallings. Those two drivers currently looking like they are in the battle for the hardest charger of the race. That Patriot Media and Marketing Services have put up a $10 reward for us. So hopefully one of those two drivers can see this one out in their positions. As they run, it would actually go to Richard Stallings in the number 17 machine, currently being scored plus 16 positions up from where he qualified. So good gains for him. Hopefully he can hold on to that spot. He'd be $10 richer at the end of the night, not $10 Richard. Wouldn't that be something? $10 Richard. But nonetheless, we got now less than 10 laps to go, Greg. Things are kind of wrapping up here quickly.
Inside of 10 laps to go, and I just noticed something, Peter. One more guy you don't want to count out. The purple and white Will Worcester Racing Slice Pizza Bar number 18, Doug Mullins, in 6th now. He finished top 5 both races at Pocono last week, and we thought he was going to get the win in that first one. Just unfortunate that it didn't go his way, but here he is, end of the day, up and near the top 5 again. Going to be starting to the outside of John Jenkins, the points leader. Don't count that number 18 out just yet.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to step away for just a brief moment here. We'll be right back on 3 Wide TV.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Iowa Speedway. We have a restart coming with 7 laps to go. A.J. Digby in the number 14 machine, your current race leader, waiting for the pace truck to dive down pit road. Races in his hands. He stacks up the field just a little bit, gets on the loud pedal. Not as good of a restart this time for A.J. Digby, but he is going to be able to cut up in front of Greg Evans as they go off into turn number 1. Evans clears the number 29 machine of Will Worsler. John Jenkins into 4th side-by-side battle behind them between Michael Whiting and Michael Krobach. Krobach's going to take that spot as Greg Evans now all over the back bumper of the number 14 machine. Caution is out with huge wreck in turn number 3 and 4. Caution flag waves once again. And this is a big one, folks.
See what happened here. You see, Tim Knott up there. Jason Stewart, the number 1 again. That was a lot of damage to that number 41 of Tim Knott. Here we go, 3 Wide TV replay. Let's see what happened.
Man, looks like possibly the 28 machine of Troy 8 might have got into Jason Stewart, and it looked a lot bigger from at first glance right there in the middle of the pack. Good job by the full pack avoiding this one. Here you go, another angle looking out back of the number 1 machine, just a little bit of nudge right up into the side of the number 24 machine of Alan Young. Tim Knott nowhere to go in the number 41 machine. Splash and go graphics on the side of the 41, and definitely a lot of smoke now billowing out of those couple of race cars. Tough break for those drivers. Here we go, on board with Tim Knott here. Greg, nowhere for him to go.
That's unfortunate. He took a hard shot, Peter, for Tim Knott. He's had a quiet run, but man, once again, he's been caught up in an incident late. We've taken one more look at it here.
Yeah, and man, just it looked like the 41 had a clean race car as well before that heavy contact, and now smoke billowing out the front end. And Tim Knott just trying to see out the race here with a possible smoking number 41 machine. He's still out there on the racetrack. Jason Stewart in the 1 machine. He doesn't have a smoking race car, but unfortunately that paint scheme has definitely taken a beating. Troy Haight in the number 28 machine, he will take the penalty for that collision. That is an end of longest line penalty, so he will drop to the rear of the field. I'm sure he will be disappointed with that. The P&N Water Filter Chevrolet, kind of been a quiet night for Troy Haight. Been running mainly around the mid-pack, around the 20th position or so, plus or minus a few spots all night long. But Haight will now restart well back in the field here. But Greg, one thing we were talking about, that brief commercial period just a moment ago when we saw that Slice commercial. Again, we were talking about pizza, but we were also talking about this man right here, AJ Digby, and we saw how fast Greg Evans there was on that short run. He got up to his back bumper. We were saying that the more caution flags that come out, it's gonna put this number 14 in a better and better position, and looks like we're gonna have a green-white checker here perhaps. So Digby possibly just 2 laps away from his first career Cup Series victory here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series.
And this is what, start number 6, number 7 for AJ? He has been so impressive in the early stages of his ASRS career.
Yeah, it looks like Mitch Brown saying, can we get a leader of the modified class? Well, you know, to be honest, there are less modifieds out here tonight than there were last week at Poconos, so that's good news. We're making progress. We got to bring the positives out here tonight at Iowa, but looks like another green-white checker is in order. And
producer says Tim Knott is the leader of the modified class.
Yeah, currently right now it is. He's currently being scored in the 22nd position, so still smoking. He is actually leading the smoking modified class as well. So Tim Knott back there in 22nd right now. There's Richard Fletcher on pit road right now, and I'm seeing tires go on that number 43 machine there, Greg. Possibly. Did he save a set of tires, perhaps? I don't know for certain. But if he did save a set of tires, Richard Fletcher here is going to be shot out like a cannon.
Problem
with
is
4 fresh tires.
Problem is he's only got 2 laps and he's being scored in 26th position. So he's going to be able to gain a lot of ground. I just don't know how much ground he'll be able to gain.
Yeah, probably a little bit too late for him in that race car. Richard Stallings still holding on to the biggest mover of the race in his machine, and we do have confirmation that this will be the first attempt at a green-white checker. We do have 3 attempts at a green-white checker here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, so we could see 3 overtimes. Question for the chat, will we see 3 overtimes here tonight? As well as the other question for the chat, I believe Nikki Worsler said, actually no, excuse me, it was the DMLC Racing Channel said I could go for some Hawaiian pizza. Hawaiian pizza, that's pineapple on pizza. Yay or nay in the chat?
Absolute yay.
I am a fan as well, so I'm curious to know what the chat says about pineapple pizza.
Have you ever had pineapple and pepperoni on pizza? It's the best.
I haven't, but I'm sure that's good because I like pepperoni and I like pineapple on pizza. But anyway, we'll get back to the race at hand because we just have 2 laps to go. The number 14 of AJ Digby, your race leader, once again gets another good restart here, better than the last time. He's going to put about 2 car lengths between himself and Greg Evans as they dive off into turn number 1, and can't count out Will Worster in the number 29 machine. coming to the white flag this time here, Greg, and the Digby's got a pretty good jump.
Digby with a big run down the backstretch into turn 3. Side-by-side battle for third now, breaking out between Jenkins and Worsler. White flag, one more lap. Can the satellite driver, Will Worsler Racing, make it around 7/8 more of a mile?
Huge battle mid-pack from around the 7th position on back there, side by side. But we're watching up at the front. AJ Digby in the number 14 machine, holding off Greg Evans. Evans with a huge lunge. Evans with a huge lunge going off into turn number 3, unable to do anything. AJ Digby's gonna take his first career Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series win. What a strategy call by AJ Digby here tonight, Greg. Had that long green flag run, it worked out in his favor, got the lead at the end, and he gets to burn it down here on the front stretch in the number 14 machine.
He did it, AJ Digby, the satellite driver for Will Worsler Racing, picking up his first Hacksaw PC's Premier Series victory. And you see his teammates, Doug Mullins, coming up to say hello. Will Worsler giving him congratulations. Tyler Seville up there as well. Look at this, the entire Will Worsler Racing team up there flanking AJ Digby. Their satellite driver just got his first victory in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Light him up, AJ.
And AJ Digby will burn it down here on the front stretch. Based on the math, it does look like the Hard Charger Award, at least right now, might have fallen to Christopher Bouchard right there at the end of the number 50 machine. He started the race back in the 24th position, comes home in 10th, that's plus 14. He was able to get around drivers like Richard Stallings right there at the end to take that $10 reward. But this man right here, AJ Digby, takes home the biggest check of the night, $20 for the winner tonight. Great job there for AJ Digby, and look at everyone else. The Will Worsler Racing team, they're all up to give him a congratulations as he burns it down here on the front stretch, and I'm sure he'll be a super happy driver, and he was so happy, he blew the motor on that number 14 machine there, Greg.
Hey, that is burning it down till you blow it up. He did it, and the entire Will Worsler Racing team right there with him. Their satellite driver, who joined the series about a month and a half ago, just picked up his first win in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. First win in ASRS competition as well for AJ Digby. What a moment for that young man.
Absolutely. We're going to step away for just a brief moment. We're going to line up interviews with the top 3, including your race winner, AJ Digby, getting his first career cup win. We'll be right back here on 3x2.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
All right, folks. Well, we are back to Iowa Speedway, where tonight's Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series Patriot Media and Marketing Services 150 has come to a conclusion, and I have caught up with driver of the number 29 machine of Will Worcester. And Will, great job here tonight. You led a good portion of the first half of this race, pretty much led the entire first half of the race, but got a little bit snookered there by pit strategy and the number 14 machine of AJ Digby, and it looked like you had a pretty eventful entry to pit road under that green flag run that we had. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Man, it started out the way I wanted to. I obviously got the pole and led a good bit of ways, and things started getting tricky as far as when people were taking tires and pitting and X, Y, and Z, and Greg was able to get ahead of me on the pit stops. He's always able to get ahead of me on the pit stops, and then AJ obviously did a different strategy, what me or Greg did, and was able to get the lead, and he got the lead, and he wasn't gonna give it up, and I don't blame him. I mean, congratulations to AJ Digby, his first ASRS Premier Series win here, and always good racing with Greg Evans, whatnot. My guys, Doug and Tyler, both got 6 and 8, so we practiced with AJ, and me and him go a ways back as far as sim racing goes. So it was a good night for my team overall, and a good night for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was some money on the line here tonight. You do walk away with the halfway leader bonus in that number 29 machine. But was the fact that there was a little bit of money on the line here tonight go into the back of your head prior to the start of the race?
Not at all. You just broke the news to me. I didn't realize I won anything. So, no, I didn't. I knew that there was extra whatever, but I don't change the way I drive according to what's on the line. I mean, I try to drive my best and drive within myself every race, and if it's, at least for me, if I try driving past that, I'm going to cause myself and probably a lot of other folks some trouble. So I try not to pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, well, absolutely great run. Of course, got the pole very, very fast in the first half of the race, and like I said, kind of got snookered by the pit strategy here tonight. But Greg, next week we do go to North Wilkesboro, the little short track that has one end of the track higher than the other end of the track. Very unique racetrack. What are your thoughts about going to North Wilkesboro with these Cup cars?
I haven't raced the Cup cars here. I raced the 87s on 3-Wide TV. You may have heard of them, and that's about my experience there. But it seems like it should be my type of track. I should be able to get some stuff figured out over the next week and at least give it a go.
All right. Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. Will, we got the Boswell's Country Roads Harley-Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series here this Thursday night from Pocono. Will you be in that event?
Probably. If my wife has anything to say about it, I will. She pushes me to race. There was one particular race, I can't remember which one it was. I wasn't going to be able to make it because I had a reason one way or another, and she let me know that my reason didn't count. I had to race it. So more than likely, I'll be racing.
Well, I'll tell you what, she's taken over your YouTube account as well in the chat here tonight. So she has full command over you, Will. But before we let you go, you got any shout-outs?
Yeah, she just brought me my phone back. So always got a shout-out to my sponsor, Slice Pizza Bar, Turkey Pints, my wife for me support and watching my stupid cartoon sim races every Tuesday night. And I got the best teammates on iRacing, man. They make the races and the practices every week so much fun, and the way we push each other, we always end up making each other better. They're awesome. So awesome to see AJ Digby get his first win tonight. We missed Craig Stykes. He has some family stuff going on, and look forward to seeing him back on the track. Wish him and his family the best these hard times. So, Jim and Sam for putting on the league, and you guys, 3Y TV, being the best broadcaster on iRacing and YouTube.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for stepping in with us, Will, and congratulations on your third place finish here tonight.
Appreciate it, Peter. You guys have a good rest of the evening.
All right. Well, that was your third place finisher, Will Worster, and I do believe that Mr. Greg Rentz has caught up with yet another Greg Evans.
Yeah, Greg, it's Greg up in the tower. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, another great run for you here at Iowa Speedway, running in second, but you were locked in a battle pretty much all day with different drivers of the Will Worster Racing stable today. First Will Worster for the first half, and then AJ Digby the second half. Man, you were locked in a battle pretty much the entire race there.
Yeah, it seems like I can't get away from those guys. It's for the last couple of weeks, it's felt like it's me against about 4 or 5 of those guys. But that's racing. It's they race really clean, really hard, and that's the way you want it to be. And we've got we've had some good runs this past couple of weeks, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, Greg, you lead the series in wins with 8, and I think you finished on the podium more than any other driver in the series, as well as it feels like if you're not in the winner's circle, it seems like you're second or third, minus a couple of incidents a few weeks ago. But another very strong run, fastest lap of the race for you as well. So another very strong run for you today. And do you like this racetrack? Because it really seemed to fit your driving style. As you were kind of going inside, peeking outside, you had multiple options there going for you there.
Yeah, man, I really love this racetrack. It puts on a good show. You can go inside, outside, middle. It really puts on a good show. Me and Will had a lot of fun there for a while, going back and forth. And in the pit stops under green, I thought we was in good position to get the win tonight. And then we had those other cautions, and unfortunately, it's like the old saying, cautions breed cautions, and just didn't really get the green flag laps we needed at the end. But AJ ran a good race and played the strategy right, and so would pick it up this evening. Well,
second place here, Iowa. Next week, we're going old school, Greg. We're going to North Wilkesboro for throwback night, and you no doubt got to be excited to head to the 0.6 of a mile oval up in the foothills of North Carolina, your hometown, or your home track, basically, if you will, a home track for you next week. Yeah, absolutely. I really haven't tested there much, but I've been there a ton of times. So we're going to do some testing this week and next week, getting ready for the race, because I would, really love to pick up the W there, because I can drive to that track in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But we're really looking forward to that, and hopefully we can have a good run there and kind of close in on John Jenkins for the points championship here. All right, another big step in that points championship for you today. Second place today. We know who you got, but we'll give you another chance to give him a thanks. So run them down for us. Therefore, we really got to thank Freightliner. But first and foremost, tonight it was about the first responders. I can't even imagine what all they've been through the past couple months, and just got to really thank those guys more than anything. Duct Tape, Sure Tape, Detroit Diesel, Carolina Sim Works, iRacing iFlag, and just thank all the usual guys from Steel Horse Racing and Sam Crow and John was. Sam Crow had a bad road in racing tonight, but we're still working on it. Just thank everybody that helps us out. At second place, Greg Evans, another podium for you tonight. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. And I believe my co-commentator Peter Short has got down the victory lane, where he is standing by with a very, very excited young man who drives the car with a 14 on the door.
Absolutely. AJ taking home your first ever Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. We've seen you over the last few weeks be so fast. So fast. We saw you get your first podium just a couple weeks ago, and now you're standing in victory lane. You called your own shot here tonight. You came down pit road. You got off sequence from all the leaders, and it worked out for you. What was going through your head when you decided to make that call?
Well, part of it is the strategy that I tried to look at before the race. I looked at how much fuel we use per lap, and I nerdly have a giant spreadsheet which helps us out for the series. And knew that I could make about 95 to 105 laps on fuel, and that caution came out around lap 40, and I said, you know what, with a little bit of saving, I think I could make it here. So I pitted, not thinking it would be that off strategy. I was the only one, I think, that pitted at that point, and just tried to make the best of the situation. I burnt up the tires a little bit early on getting through the field and essentially evened out my tires, but I had the fuel to make it to the end at that point. So it would have been close, but I had the fuel to make it to the end. However, the longer that run went, I knew Greg and Will were coming hard and probably going to catch me with their fresher tires. So the caution helped us out for sure, but I think I would have been able to hold on to a podium had that not happened, for sure a top 5, because I had the fuel to make it. But it was a bold call, a gutsy call, but I mean, that's kind of what you got to do to win sometimes in this league. You got to get a little bit of luck and a little bit of strategy call, and I've got myself track position, and I had enough speed to hold on to it there at the end.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought it was a fantastic call to get off strategy. I'm actually a bit surprised we don't see more drivers get a little bit off strategy here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, because of the level of the skill set amongst a lot of these drivers. I mean, it's so tough to get a win here in this series, and you decided to get off strategy here tonight, and it just so happened to work out for you. I mean, how happy were you to see that green flag run that we got here tonight?
I mean, I was very happy. I'll always look for green flag runs. We practiced them during the week. We practiced getting nearly a full fuel run at least once or twice, so I have an idea of how tires are going to wear over the stint. And just overall, that's what I wanted, because I knew I had the fuel to make it to the end. I knew I had the fuel to get myself some track position, and it ended up working out at the end. But like you said, it's very high skill level here, and you have to use track position to get there, because it's all fixed setup. It's all, everything is made to be as same as possible, that you got to do what you can to get as many positions as you can. And that's what I was trying to do tonight, was able to get some of that track position. I knew I had the speed. I was fourth or fifth, I feel like, on speed most of the night. So but once I was able to get up in clean air and control the restarts, that helped. Got a little bit lucky with some of those cautions, but ultimately it was just able to keep this 14 Turn Racing Sim Tools machine up front, and end up coming away with the win. Very, very happy. I'm humbled, but very honored to have made this transition and made it as well as I have, and that can't go without saying to Will Warsaw Racing. We kind of split practices, and being able to practice with those guys really helps me increase some speed. I drove for Will in the other series, so that's how I kind of got that ins and know those guys. But being able to practice with them on a weekly basis really helps me to prepare for pretty much every situation that we can field in the race.
Absolutely, and of course, you got all this momentum now from this win, and really a good start to your Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series career. But next week, we got the Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150 at North Wilkesboro. What are your thoughts about going to North Wilkes?
So to be 100% honest, I just bought the track, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. So I have not run it at all yet. But I know that I like short tracks, so it might be a little bit of a learning curve and a bit of an adjustment, especially to a track I've never ran before. But I just bought it the other day, and I'll get to practicing it in the coming days. The weird thing for me is I can win, I can do as well as I can here, but can't really compete for a championship, which I've done in some other leagues. So I'm kind of in a weird situation where it helps me to be able to go off strategy, because I'm really just win or bust. I'm not here to win or not wreck, but it's like, if I don't win, like, points don't really matter for me right now. So just trying to have fun, trying to have some good races, and North Wilkesboro will be a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge and excited for the opportunity to try out a new track and try out a short track at that.
Well, I know that summer 2020 probably not exactly the way AJ Digby was hoping for here this year, but getting the win here tonight at Iowa, great to see, AJ. But I know you have a lot of shout outs to give. You had both Savannah and Madge in the chat here tonight, so give us those shout outs.
Yeah, well, you started it off for me, but for sure got to thank them, Savannah, my fiance, for all of her support and watching and chatting in here, as well as my grandma Madge, rest of my family. I believe my dad's probably watching back home somewhere, and anybody else that's watching, not only supporting me, but supporting anybody in the league, just to be able to watch. And definitely got to thank everybody there. got to thank you guys for what you do with the broadcast. I always enjoy watching these the day after, so Wednesdays, and I definitely will enjoy watching this one tomorrow. But I have to thank you guys for all that you do at 3Y TV, and then everybody in the league for putting on these races, and especially those guys at the front that I'm battling that make such great racing week in and week out.
Well, AJ, you led 49 laps here tonight, and you led the most important one right at the end. Congratulations on your first career Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series victory here in tonight's Patriot Media Marketing Solutions 150. And hope to see you next week at North Wilkesboro.
Thank you very much, and have a great night.
All right. Well, Greg, that's going to do it for the post-race interviews, but I think we got your race results lined up for you right there. And AJ Digby taking home the win over Greg Evans, just one spot short of his 9th win on the season. Will Worcester coming home in 3rd in the number 29 machine. And Greg, that's a good finish for Will. We haven't seen Will in victory lane for quite some time, so he's starting to knock on the door yet again. John Jenkins coming home in 4th, your points leader in the number 7 Max Pappas Innovations Toyota here tonight, finishing inside the top 5. Michael Krobach in the number 72 HPPsimulations.com Ford. He's the first driver in points without a win, and here racking up another top 5 tonight. Doug Mullins coming home in 6th. Michael Whiting, good run for the Brookside Equipment Sales, number 44, of course, sporting the first responders paint scheme here this week. Love that bright red on the number 44 and putting together a solid run here tonight. Tyler Seville coming home in 8th. Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine coming home in 9th. Great bounce back for Haggerty. Kind of had an up-down night, but finishing inside the top 10, just like last week's race number 2 winner at Pocono, Christopher Bouchard, also finishing in 10th position there, Greg.
We didn't talk about him, but Jimmy McKee comes home in the 11th spot. Great run for the McKee Lawn Care Chevy with Brian Yazik, who climbed through the field after pitting late, so he finishes in the 12th spot. Adam Jersky, the Cheesecake Factory, bringing it home 13th position for the Beef Jersky Cheesecake number 69. Richard Stallings and Alan Young rounding out the top 15. You've got Cody Spiker coming home 16th and 19th. John Broussard, talked about him climbing through the field, winds up plus 12, finishes 17th. Pete Baskins caught up in that late incident in 18th. With Tony Show and then Ed Bray, who had such a strong run in the early stages, Peter, but unfortunately the luck bites him once again. Ed Bray rounds out the top 20.
Yeah, tough break there for Ed Bray right towards the end of the race. Troy Hayden in the number 28 machine comes home 21st. He had an end the longest line penalty right there at the end of the race as well. Mark Myers comes home 22nd. J.R. Bash in 23rd in the number 4 machine. Richard Fletcher 24th. Jason Stewart in the number 25 machine, the winner of tonight's First Responders Paint Scheme Challenge. He will take home $10 for that, but the 25th place finish, that's not what he was hoping for. Tim Knott comes home in 26th. Brad Lee, 27th. Chris Hughes, 28th. Sam Crow, 29th. Grant Brown round out your top 30. And your last 2 finishers here tonight, well, they didn't actually finish. They finished many laps down off the racetrack. Ty Hester and Kelsey Rogers. Kelsey Rogers, of course, involved in that first lap accident. A tough break for him. And there you can see at the bottom of your screen, Will Worcester led 97 laps here tonight. It did go to overtime, so a couple more laps further than scheduled. But, Greg, all in all, great race, and we had a first-time winner here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series.
Yeah, so good to see AJ Digby get that win, Peter. He has been knocking on the door ever since joining the series. Has a great performance all week and finally gets it done, leading just under 50 laps to get it done. First win of the season. Congratulations going out to that young man.
Absolutely. Got to give a big shout out, of course, to Patriot Media and Marketing Services for jumping on board and sponsoring tonight's event, as well as sponsoring the money giveaways that a couple of these drivers received. Also, War Turtle Racing out of Iowa jumping in and giving a little bit of extra cash to your race winner, AJ Digby. So great to see that out of the sponsor here tonight. Got to give a huge shout out to Hacksaw PC, Surf Pro, DB Sim Racing, American Regardless, Glassdoor Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Set Tire, and Falcon Race Wraps for jumping on board and sponsoring races this season and making the league what it is. As for 3Y TV, we also want to thank our friends over at SimTV for the camera package that we use here that allows you guys to see all of these cool angles, brought to you by Mr. Carlos Acosta, the man who mans all the cameras each and every week here on 3YTV. But for myself, Peter Short, and Greg Rentz alongside me, we'll see you guys next week for more American Sim Racing Series action at the fantastic North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's going to be throwback. There's going to be throwback paint schemes. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you then. See ya!